everything is messy, but we'll do it anyway. We have a small window. We get some figure drawing done. It's kind of weird. Okay. Doing... Oh yeah. Fire this up. Okay. Is this something that'll work? We're giving a little bit of an experiment to this website, Line of Action. We'll see if this... We'll see what this... We'll review it and see what it does. Because this is the whole wide world internet, we have to use only covered models. Let's not do... let's do adult, as in people over 18, hopefully, and then portrait, precision categories. Ooh, and then it can display each one for... Man, if we do... You know, it's true, when you start with the quick ones, you do get a little bit better, so... Let's start here. Andy, what's going on, man? I don't feel like I love this website for the, I'm like, cool, I'll use this. Right now I'm doing, some figure drawing studies. I've got like an hour before I have to, do a client call, and I'm like, let's do something. So this isn't... I said adult, and then it does this, and let's go back. Let's try this again. Turn off baby, turn off child, turn off teen. I want adults only. Portrait. All genders is fine. Covered models. I'm like auditing... I'm not auditing the site, but I've never really used it before, so I'd like... Your selections match 103 images. That's not very, like, it's an interesting concept for a site. I just don't feel like it's... Is that going to give what we want? Yeah, I don't know about that. Maybe any? 168? Jesus Christ. Start. Okay, that's a child. This isn't what I want to draw. Okay, so, here's my verdict. Line of action. Your website needs to get a little bit better. Because, I'm not sure what that's supposed to match up with, but that doesn't read as adult to me. And, I don't really feel like drawing children right now, so... Yeah, thanks for embarrassing me on live stream. You suck, and, we'll just go back to... what I am going to go to, and this is a website that I do use, but it is, I'm not sure if I fully endorse them, but they do at least, like, vet their models as adults and enter into, like, you know, like, agreements with them to use the depictions, and, you know, and I've got a membership there and stuff like that. So let me just log in. I don't know why I have to do this and make things go slow. But we'll do it. Log in. And what I'll do is I'll just have to draw clothes on the, like, bikinis, I guess. Or, posing pouches. Yeah. Fast sketch. So this will still iterate. Okay, model, gender, all, nude clothed. Let's do costumed, please. Let's just see what happens. Full body, props, no props, and let's do 2 minutes each. Where does this get us? Let's see where this puts us. And this person is naked and they have clothes on. That's interesting. They've got a costume. All right. You know what? It just has to be like this. This will be one of those sloppy streams where nothing goes right. That's okay. But thanks for popping in anyway, Andy. Okay, we can still demo and get some practice in with the demoing. And the reason I'm keen to do this at all, even if we have short time, is I didn't do any drawing. Well, I did some drawing yesterday, but it wasn't like serious drawing. And like, if I'm gonna work a job today, I want to... Some people are like really intense about like, oh yeah, you gotta warm up, you gotta warm up, you gotta warm up. I never really got in the habit of taking that too seriously because I was always busy. Now that I'm not busy anymore, I realize that like, yeah, if you take time off and you're not working, like those quick drawing skills absolutely will atrophy. And I don't have, unless I go through the motions of really trying to, I have to go out of my way to do my figure drawing practice now, because all the avenues to practice it are cut off. This is interesting. It's one of those poses that I don't like because the angles of the shoulder and the leg are at, basically, she's tilted over and looks like she's about to fall over. And it's just not an elegant pose, in my opinion, but sort of a pose I tell people, instead of doing that, try this. But it's okay. But this is like an opportunity to just sort of demonstrate how to start a figure drawing. It's okay if these two things are both tilted to this. See how they're both tilted to the same degree. Those two things can be tilted to the same degree as long as the pelvis and the thorax are not tilted also in the same degree. So if we have this pelvis tilted up and this, or sorry, if the thorax is tilted up and the pelvis is tilted down, that can still work. But if everything is basically leaning in the same direction, the body just falls over, and you just want to avoid that. Otherwise, it'll look like your body is falling or it's floating in air. Something like that. This is so funny. I've got to solve this problem before I do any more figure drawing live streams. I'll have to somewhat curate, I think, the pickings, because right now it's showing me a reference that I know I've drawn before, and I'm like, okay, there should be a way to remember what you've been shown and not get shown that again. You know, surprise me with something fresh. So this is a sort of a reclined pose, and that's difficult to sort of ascertain a line of action. But that's my best attempt there. The body basically falling with its weight, not distributed to the feet, makes it trickier to emphasize that line of action, but it's still a fun Zen mental exercise. Like, what is the abbreviated pose of this body? And for whatever reason, she's clutching this pedestal. Anyway, I'm gonna rant about figure drawing and stuff like that. The nature of the thing with time being ticking down means I won't be able to monitor the chat that much, but anyway, anybody who's joining, Andy, thanks for joining, and hope you're well. Timed figure drawing poses are really excellent for just getting into that don't think, just draw kind of mindset. It's not obviously... It's not always something that just clicks over when you want it to, when you're on a job. Right now I've got a lot of anxiety about, like, I got booked on a job, I don't even know what it is. It's a client I've worked with only one time before. It's essentially a new client. I feel like all my clients these days are new. Just every gig just feels random now. It just doesn't feel like it connects to anything that happened previously in my career that I can sort of be like, yeah, that's logical. Like, I kind of want to be like, hey, how did you get my contact? You know, did you know a client that I was with before? Did you know, did my agent hook you up? Does this, I mean, I'm assuming it has something to do with that, but it's like, I want to know the provenance. That would be helpful information for me, and yet it's sort of an awkward conversation. I'd rather... And it sort of doesn't matter anyway. It's like, you just gotta focus on doing a good job. Because if you get a good recommend and then you blow it, it's doesn't do any good anyway. It would be nice if I could mirror these. I'm not sure if I can. That's interesting. I can't take the risk of it actually showing the naked body on screen. Because last time that happened, I got a Twitch ban. And I assume the similar would happen with Google. The dual stream stuff. This is interesting. Yeah, this is another pose that I know I've drawn before. And so it's just frustrating that when it comes to like clothed poses, there is slim pickings with these sort of timed posing service websites or something. Getting that brain primed into the draw with the speed of your emotion and like your instinct is... That's usually... It can take me like a day and a half to get there if I'm doing it through board work. Because there's a lot of like mental heavy lifting and decision-making and critical thinking that has to go into storyboarding. That doesn't necessarily translate to drawing well. But I know that when I do figure drawing, it really feels like my whole brain just gets activated. Not that I ever really watched Dragon Ball Z, but there's those characters that, you know, they just go rah and they start they get so intense they catch on fire and they become invincible or unstoppable or something, and that's me. Okay, so if this pelvis is pointing that way, even if it's covered, I like to think, or sorry, if this chest is pointed up, you know, if I draw the invisible backside of it like that, then we think the other one is going down. And I can tell it is here, even though it's covered. It's covered by drapery here. Some sort of harem pant. Princess Jasmine. Generally, I prioritize drawing the legs first, if I can remember. Sometimes it just feels hard to stay disciplined like that. Like your body has in your mind and your skills. They have instincts where it's like, oh, look at that. That looks cool. I want to draw that part. You got to fight it and remind yourself. It's like, no, there's a hierarchy to the things that are important to depict in a pose in order to make sure it looks good or is done right. I mean, everybody can do figure drawing the way they want to do it. But, and this is something I was thinking about earlier today, because it's like, I think I talked about this, but like, because I'm like, even though things are going okay, it's just, I'm still worried about, you know, the future of art as a career. It just feels like this is, I keep coming back to the word unsustainable. Whereas it used to feel like I could just do this for the rest of my life, now it's not so clear. It'll only be there as long as people are willing to pay money for that skill, and if they, even if they want to, if they can't because of whatever things are going on, like the world just gets shitty, and it arguably is already very shitty, then it won't matter, you know, how good of a storyboard artist I am, you know. Here she's wearing a toga. You can only do so much in 2 minutes. Sometimes figure drawing is like, it's like triage. It's like, who can you save? It's sort of like, okay, you know, they do the, or whatever, it's like abandoned ship, you have no time to think. You just remember your training, it's on instinct. It's like women and children first. Get the head, get the chest, get the pelvis indicated. Get the orientation. So I like to draw that cross section. That's not unique to me or to anyone. That's just common sense. You get that 3D cross section. Then the legs are not only where the weight is more distributed, but they're the larger masses by far. And arguably some of the most aesthetic forms on the body. And for me, you know, I'm not like a foot guy or anything like that, although I appreciate a good foot, but a well-drawn gesture of a foot is like chef's kiss for me. So I always try to get that in. And then here, with very little time left, you know, we can indicate where the arms go. But comparatively, the arms can be so arbitrary. Like, you know, if you draw the feet and the legs wrong, the whole pose looks screwy. If you kind of draw the arms wrong, like, oh, it wasn't at the proper angle or something like that, unless they're holding something or like, or whatever, like it's super important like that, it can just be very arbitrary. So look at all these drawings we've done in like 10 minutes. That's not bad. And it really did activate my brain. I'm glad, you know, I don't think short poses are that educational for like people starting out in figure drawing. I think short poses are the better test of forcing you to like separate yourself from the preciousness of figure drawing, and I think they're a great test of figure drawing, but I don't necessarily think of them as very educational. I think there's too much, I think the fast nature of the timing is too much pressure, especially for a young person, but we can demonstrate a little bit of the hard mode stuff. And then it's like, once you get used to the quick poses, you go into like 5-minute, 10-minute poses. And that's normal in a figure drawing class to like go from quick poses to long ones. But yeah, you start out with the quick ones, and then at the end, you have it like a 5-minute pose. It's like an eternity. You can feel like you can get so much done relatively. Oop. Not when I mess up like that. And this figure was nude, which is like another example. Like, I'd love to have these just sort of here on reference, but the system just won't work. I shouldn't just... Here. People might be interested in actually seeing those, so... I guess it's like that. If you're really in deep sleep and someone is waking you up and you're so disoriented, like your mind, like it's having a hard time accepting the new reality of like where you actually are in space, because 5 minutes ago you were in a spaceship, you know, fighting aliens or something like that. It's similar to what it's like when you start a job and you're not sort of mentally warmed up. The idea of like, wait, how do I draw again? What? My imagination is in a different place right now. Or whatever, but like, actually, here's another analogy, because this is just me rambling. But like, you know, when well, if you know, but like clay or even Sculpey or like a kneaded eraser, like when you first get the stuff out of the pack, like it's very hard to work with. Like you have to sort of massage and warm it up and knead it around, and then when it's warm and mushed around a bit, it gets pliable, and you feel like you have mastery over it and you can do anything with it. You just sort of need to do that with your brain with these figure drawings sometimes. Okay. Let's switch up the time and do a little bit longer. So instead of 2 minutes, let's do 5 minutes. Okay. Hard on for this girl in the toga. I know that this company takes lots and lots of photos of new models constantly. So it just, to me, this just feels like they just haven't bothered to update this aspect of their website. Maybe it is not that popular or whatever, but I would appreciate it if it was a little bit more. Not sure what that is doing. Probably Twitch stream got killed or something, but hard for me to love on the Twitch the way it was in the beginning. In the beginning, it felt like I had so many people rooting for me and joining in and following and stuff. It was very normal. And then, and these days it's just not that way anymore. I'm not really sure. And it's like, probably my own fault. I'm not regularly streaming, and when I can, it's often abrupt, you know, not for a long period. You know what I can do is, I'll check the chat after every pose now, and because if they're 5 minutes, it's a little bit less intense. And if there's like any questions or topics that come up, I'll try to rant about them. So you can see in a 5-minute pose, I've got time to get all this oriented, and even here I'm attempting to draw the model's face with a passable likeness, something there's absolutely no time to do in a 2-minute pose. And so I guess that's why I'm sort of a little bit cool on the idea of, oh, 2-minute poses are super educational. It's just they each length of time can teach you different things, but one is not necessarily best overall for learning how to draw the figure, because if there's no time to draw some of the major portions of the head, for instance, I mean, the head is the figure. If you can't draw the fingers, that's not. Other people might have different opinions, but you know, it's like the argument of like, oh, well, you know, that's something the mind and the body are separate, and it's like, no, the mind and the body are, the mind is part of the body, and the expression is part of the figure. What the face is doing, and then even to me, it's like what the light is doing here. Even here in this limited time, I can get some semblance of the shading. You know? And look at the difference. You just add 3 minutes to something. comparatively so much clearer what's going on. Than the stuff that we were... Yeah, it's like you can tell she's leaning back on something, and here... Oh, the pedestal. Here she is on the pedestal again. Okay, I'm gonna check, see if there's any... Here we go. Oh, you're waiting on the AC repair to show up. Alright, cool. Well, thanks for popping in. I imagine that the Twitch chat is... Or, sorry, the Twitch stream was having issues, because it says I went live twice, which is not, not accurate, so... If there is something I know that I should be doing more on the stream and just in general in my life, it's more figure drawing. I know I'm good at this, and it is a sort of underdeveloped skill that, or it's not underdeveloped. It's people aren't as proficient or practiced in this. It's sort of difficult to sort of get, I think, even for professional artists. And I think this is one area where, if nothing else, you know, humans can hold a line against the onslaught of tech. Here I am getting distracted by facial features, and I shouldn't do that. So let me undistract myself. This is a difficult pose. The model is in pretty sharp foreshortening, meaning this long leg is sort of condensed, and I don't necessarily have great confidence in my proportions here. Comparing the two things, now I can still do a nice drawing, but it's going to not be a perfect match of what the model is doing. That's okay. Sometimes it says some of my best figure drawings don't match the model, and it's actually a pretty good Zen exercise to be like, well, use your knowledge of the form anyway and correct it to the new pose. Because that should be possible, and so that's what I try to do. You can use the information and like the light that you see and still get a great result, even if you mess up a little bit in the beginning. Anyway, I have a hunch that if I stopped obsessing about doing fan art and just focus on doing figure drawing demos, I bet that would actually end up being more popular. Certainly had its moment in the algorithm. One of my more, I don't know, viewed videos was a figure drawing video, actually, but like to an alarming extent. And I guess for me it's just a little bit of like pride or annoyance that like something that to me is sort of like imagine like you were like a brilliant, I don't know, mathematician, and you loved making math videos, but it turns out your most popular content was like washing dishes or something like that. I mean, figure drawing is not washing dishes, but it's when I talk about like Zen stuff, it's like this is the stuff that it's like eating your vegetables. It's not the sexy. Despite the fact that it's often got naked people in it, I don't think of it necessarily as the sexy stuff, right? This is the. It's like practicing scales, right? Why should that be the more popular content? And part of me wants to like fight that might be the case, but I've been trying with like the fan art stuff. It's not. I mean, it's not like people don't like it. People like it fine. It's just it's not. This one is a close-up of the portrait, which is not quite right. I like to draw the whole. I like to. I think it's clear from this, like the head to toe is what I'm interested in, and this person just has tons of clothes on. Let's find another one. Again, same person, tons of clothes on. Alright, this one's okay. I think it might be easier to understand at a glance and the more instant gratification. I think so too, right? Knowing that a person may be short on time, more bang for their buck, I guess, as a viewer. And for them to sort of... I mean, the idea that your average, even non-artistic person appreciates figure drawing, I very much appreciate that. And I think they do. I think there's a genuine, like, human connection and poetry in the idea. It's undeniable. You know, it's our human nature. And it is something that people go to art school for and pay money to learn about. So it's probably time for me to just embrace that. I do have a saying. It's not really my saying, but like I do say this. Usually it's just a joke. I say it as like a joke, but it's like it is true. You got to give the people what they want. If the algorithm was trying to tell me anything, it's that there's an audience and a demand for figure drawing. I don't know whether or not anything is being seen at this moment, but yeah, that VOD that I posted on my YouTube did well. And, you know, this one probably won't, but I think that if I, whatever, practice at this, keep consistent at it, and I could just do this in the mornings. You know, it would be great practice for me, just being consistent with myself. There's no reason I couldn't just get up early, do a quick hour of figure drawing, and then just get on with the rest of my day. It's the perfect way to warm up and just sort of get over that hump of I don't want to draw today, which is like every day. Crowd out the content of me ranting about AI or all the other stuff that I do that is arguably a little more cringe. Okay, I'm gonna draw underwear on this booty, but that's not what I'm seeing. A little more posterior here, yeah. And I don't like... I don't like erasing, so we're going to avoid that. Oh, this is also a great exercise in not abusing the undo button. I'm so guilty of that. And like if I start my day just abusing, well, I used it then and I used it then, but you start your day abusing the undo button. It's like you're being obsessed with perfect outcomes, and that isn't what figure drawing is about. It's about accepting flaws and knowing your skills, knowing your limits, knowing that even if you suck or you don't feel like you're doing a good job, you can draw through it. Oh. I had another client for a job that was holding me just released. That's lovely. That's not the job I'm doing today, but it was like sort of a beacon of hope that I was sort of hoping would come through. Pause this. Let's see here. Getting back. I don't like this pose. It's just to, by means of quick demonstration, it's not like the pose is bad or whatever. It's just the, here, I'll force myself to draw it anyway. But I don't mind reclined poses. Seated poses where the weight is distributed in so many different points, it's just, I feel it's very artificial. And, you know, her whole other leg is screened by this leg. There's just a lot of what is... her toes are covering up her other toes. You know, but let me force myself to eat some spinach. Restart that timer. As if I'm railing against instant gratification, this is something I should do. Yeah, well, as if I wasn't clear enough before as well. Very hard to see the line of action in a pose where the weight is just distributed across so many points. It doesn't even really look like she's sitting on her butt. It's like she's just sort of propped up with her hand. And sort of limply holding onto this sword. I'm being critical about this stuff. It's a kind of like pulpy fantasy homage, but not really well done. Yeah, it's one of those poses where it's like this leg, it's not necessarily clearly going that way, and it's not necessarily clearly going this way. It's more kind of flat to camera, same as this arm. Same as this arm, it's just sort of flat to camera. There's not a lot of Z space, despite it being obviously in, you know, it's a three-dimensional picture. And what I tend to just try and do when I'm confronted in situations like this is just make a choice. Make it go one way or the other. And then commit to that a little bit better than the model did. And then the result will be more interesting. This face, it's not clearly decided whether or not it's tilted away from camera or tilted towards camera. And if I honor how it is here in the photo, it's just not going to look very good. When inventing poses, try not to straddle. Have a clear idea of, is this arm coming towards the viewer, like the camera, or is it going away? It doesn't have to be a dramatic decision. But if you don't pick something that it's clearly doing, you're going to get confused later on when you try to match it up with other limbs going in and out of space. If it's too subtle, you'll get lost in your own drawing. You'll end up with something that just feels uncommitted, unclear, and flat. I'm gonna go another maybe 15 minutes. I like to live dangerously. My client meeting is at 2 p.m. This is a drawing that we've already done. On to the next one. Okay, try one more. You can see the 5-minute ones are fairly nice. Similar thing again. I'm a little annoyed. This photo does not have the full figure, but I've already started it, so let's just keep going. If it doesn't show the full figure, then there's really... I don't know if there's a real way to determine the line of action, and I find that to be so important for having a good sense of the pose. I really do want to see it from, you know, tip of the nose to the pinky toes. That's something. Even here, the top of the hand is cropped out. It's like, why do that? But in a real figure drawing classroom, there's all sorts of, like, even though the whole model is generally there right in front of you. Often figure drawing classrooms are crowded. If you don't get there early, you get you're in one of the back seats, and you'll have people's heads sticking out, crowding up your view. On the other hand, getting there early means you're sitting in the front, and the front rows have a lot of distortion on them. I don't recommend sitting in the front at all. Unless you're short and you just simply can't, it's okay, it's fine to be short. But the best views are not in the front row, in my opinion, in terms of seeing the figure without tons of distortion. And to explain, like, what I mean is, if the model is in a reclined pose and you're in the front row, you're going to see their toes as much larger in apparent size because they're closer to you than their fingers, for instance, at least potentially. And if you aren't very skilled at drawing in foreshortening, your brain will will sort of try to fix what you're seeing and the drawing as you're drawing it, and you won't. It's very difficult to prevent that. We don't really control what we see, or it's extremely difficult. For the most part, we're just sort of along for the ride with our perceptions. And so it's common to just have a bunch of errors creep in that once they get started, they just spiral. So it's either you draw the toes as large as they appear, which will invariably look too big, unless you're sort of masterful at it. So then you instead do the other way, where you draw them the size that you expect them to be, which is small, and then everything else the size you expect that to be. But then what you end up with is an image that doesn't resemble at all what you see in front of your eyes. So then you think, well, that doesn't work either. So you try to fix... Anyway, you're just trying to fix stuff that... fix stuff to make it look better, but it just doesn't end up looking any better. Okay, I'm not crazy. This is showing us the same images. That's literally the same image. So either there is a glitch in the matrix, or they just have a very shallow pool of... Yeah. It's a very shallow pool of images to draw from. That's probably my fault for restricting it simply to the to just the ones that have clothing on them, because half these don't even really have clothing on them anyway. Next time I'll try something different next time. I won't expect to do the same thing and get a different result. I'll also try to restore my old camera setup. This was a sort of a different experiment, seeing this, if I could get away with not using my iPad as the camera. But I'm not that impressed with the results, and I feel like people actually enjoyed seeing the portraits of my cats on the walls. Here it is again. I forgot to do the the whole line of action. I just sort of went into Xerox mode. Like that. Sums it up right there.
Whom do you serve?
A little bit of abuse of the undo button there. Apologize. Got a cool sword here. Pretty sure they call that a gladius. Skip this one. I feel like I've drawn this one. Yeah, I've drawn this one too. But we did this one in a 2-minute pose, so we'll try it again in 5 minutes. And then that'll have to be the end of the stream, so that'll be a good one to end on. And it looks like this, just to show it off. Who is this? Hey, Boxer. Hey, what's up, man? We're doing just a quick figure drawing stream. And you are sort of in the combined dual chat, so. And earlier I was sort of discussing that whether I prefer it or not, the figure drawing content has actually been among the better performing of the, I guess if metrics could be valued, it definitely does more numbers than even my personal artwork. And that's okay. All that's required is a snarky rebranding of what I consider my personal artwork. So now my figure drawing is now my personal artwork. Boxer, if you're on TikTok, and I don't see why you should be, but if you are, you can be advised. I mean, anybody can be advised that I started an account there to post some of my Zelda time lapses, and they're being decently well received. This is an interesting pose, sort of going in two directions. Hard to depict angles. Oh well. Still got some winners in here. This pose is more my style, where we have the clear shoulder going that way, pelvis going that way, distinction. Definitely more along the lines of how I try to pose my figures if I'm inventing them, at least. This feels like it's more natural and classic. Anyway, a little bit of regular... Oh, I forgot to turn that timer back on. All right, well, I've got, let's say, 3 minutes. Anyway, I've got my office and studio put back together, and I think it's sensible if I try a little trial run, because it's a win-win situation if I, even if nobody tunes in, starting the day with figure drawing studies is just great, just to keep my practice up, and because I really do enjoy it. I know I'm good at it. And it is educational. I got in a huff about it early on because of that Twitch suspension, if anybody recalls. I was showing off some of my older drawings, and those drawings, you know, had, heaven forbid, an exposed breast, very artfully depicted. You know, very tasteful, and it, I caught a Twitch ban so quick from that. It made me paranoid that, like, it's sort of hostile to my content and my intents. But whatever flack was generated, it really was sort of just in that moment. It didn't really translate to anything major that I feel is justified in being skittish against, and I think there are ways to be educational about figure drawing in the classical sense without being a purist about nudity and stuff like that. You know, we can work around that. People can wear bathing suits and stuff. That's all. It's all that's really is needed to get around that stuff. And I can imagine people wearing anything, so a bathing suit really isn't that big of a deal. Okay, so there's that pose. This will be the one we end on. Just a little bit of shading. You can see what the light is kind of doing. Yeah, something like that. All right. Cool. Well, that is that. And yeah, got a bunch of stuff in. My mind is primed for the workday beginning in about 5 minutes, so I'm appreciative of that. Oh, my brother says a bunch of stuff. Let me read this. Feet. Eluding layfields. Yes, indeed. Yeah. I'm not a TikToker, but I can appreciate its exposure aspect for content. Broobs. Just gotta say, the update stream look great. You're figuring out quite nicely. Just gotta get your affiliate status going so people can subscribe. Maybe. I'm cheap. I'll do it for the likes and the lulz. Alright, bro. I appreciate you popping in and the encouraging words, and Andy too. Hope it goes well with the AC. Get that shit figured out. That's a hot state you're in. And everybody else who might check in later, thanks for giving it a chance, and I'll catch you next time. Hopefully soon. Hopefully more figure drawing stuff. Alright. See you later. Adios.